Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be giving my MLB DraftKings picks for Monday, May 14th. Going to go over the slate and talk about some pitchers that I like for today, give you my two pitchers that are my favorite pitchers. We'll talk about all the other options as well that I think I'll be targeting. Then we'll talk about some hitters I like, three of my favorite hitters on this slate that correlate with the pitchers, at least when it comes to value. If I'm paying up at pitcher, I'll give you some value hitters. If I'm going cheap at pitcher, I'll give you some hitters that I want to pay up for. But before we do get started looking at this slate, talking about this slate, make sure you guys drop a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel and you have not clicked that subscribe button yet, be sure you subscribe down below so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. But yeah, pitcher today, looking at our studs, we have four options over 10K on DraftKings. Got Patrick Corbin, Carlos Carrasco, Rick Porcello, and Lance McCullers. I do like paying up a pitcher on this slate. I think there are some cheap SP2s that you can pair with the expensive options. My favorite expensive pitcher on this slate by far, I definitely think it's Carlos Carrasco here. 12,200 versus the Tigers. Love this matchup for Carrasco. He did play this Tigers team earlier this year and really dominated. Put up 33.8 DraftKings points against them. Pitched a complete game, only allowed 3 hits, 1 run. Only got 2 walks as well, 6 strikeouts earlier this year against the Tigers. Looking at their projected lineup for tomorrow, tomorrow, I'm recording this Sunday night, but looking at the projected lineup for the Tigers, will be interesting to see if Candelario and Castellanos do come back for this game. Right now, they have outs, they have the red O next to their name, but they are in the projected lineup. If Candelario and Castellanos come back, that is a bit of a downgrade for Carrasco, but I still like him here even if they do come back. This team just has a lot of strikeouts in their lineup, especially when you get to James McCann and down. McCann, Hicks, Jones, Iglesias, Machado, especially like McCann, Hicks, and Jones, definitely guys that strike out. Matuk, putting him in the top of the lineup, a guy that will K some, not the best hitter either. I just think this is a really good spot for Carrasco. I feel like a lot of people are probably going to go to Patrick Corbin over Carrasco in that matchup with the Brewers, but I do think Carrasco might have more upside. We really saw the upside that Carrasco has in his last game against the Brewers. Just went out and dominated, 47 DraftKings points, complete game, 14 strikeouts, 2 runs. Just a great game from Carrasco. The guy has a ton of upside, could easily be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate. So for that reason, I think I'm going to roll with him as my SP1 today. I don't mind Corbin if you want to go to him, but I think I do prefer Carrasco. Rick Porcello at 10-5 against Oakland. Not really sure how much upside Porcello has. And when Carrasco and Corbin, just guys that have a ton of upside, are right there in price, I'd rather go to those two guys. I think I'd rather play McCullers over Porcello if you're going to pay for one of the 10K pitchers, but I'm not really interested in them. I'm looking to Corbin and Carrasco if I'm paying up. And then SP2s, there are some really cheap options we can go to today. I think a cheap play you could consider is Chris Stratton at 5,700 if you wanted to pair him with an expensive option. Stratton might be a little risky, but at 5,700 in San Francisco, great pitcher's park versus the Reds, a Reds team that not very good, will strike out. You could play Stratton here, but I do feel safer going with Tyler Anderson at 7,500 versus the Padres. This is just such a good matchup, a matchup you don't really pass up on. We're going to target the Padres all year with opposing pitchers just because there's a team that isn't very good offensively. They have a lot of strikeouts in their lineup. Tyler Anderson has faced this Padres team twice this year, did put up pretty solid outings, faced them once in Coors Field and put up 20 DraftKings points, then faced them in San Diego and put up 19 DK points. Pretty consistent outings, pretty solid outings there. I think we could see Tyler Anderson put up a similar score here. 15 to 20 DraftKings points is pretty likely. The guy does have upside for more. Could easily get 25 to 30. Did put up 31 DK points early this year against the Cubs. Had 9 strikeouts. Definitely has some upside here. So I like Tyler Anderson. SP2 you can pair with your expensive pitcher. Still leaves you some decent salary to where you can't pay for bats. If you want to get some more expensive bats in, you could go down from Anderson to Stratton. I don't mind that. Stratton is a cheap option I think you can consider. But like I said, Stratton might be a little bit risky, and I kind of feel safer with Tyler Anderson at 7,500. So I think I'm going to roll with Carrasco and Anderson as my two favorite pitchers on this slate that you can pair together. Corbin, I think, is a pivot away from Carrasco if you want to go to him. Then if you wanted a cheaper option away from Anderson, you could definitely consider Chris Stratton, 5,700. But now if we want to talk about some hitters for today, the 3 bats that I like that I can pair with my pitcher, that I can pair with my 2 pitchers. First guy I like is a value option at first base, 3,500, Yonder Alonso versus Mike Fiers. I love Yonder Alonso here. I love the Indians today as a stack. Definitely probably my favorite stack on the slate. Mike Fiers is just not a good pitcher. I think the Indians are able to put up a ton of runs here. They've been swinging the bat well lately. I know they put up like 11, 12 runs on Sunday. A lot of these guys have been hitting the ball well lately. Lindor, Brantley Ramirez, Alonso, a guy that has power. These dudes have been crushing the ball. So I think you can definitely consider a lot of them on the slate if you can fit them in, especially the cheap options like Alonso, Kipnis, projected about 6th. I think these are good value plays for today. Mike Fiers, just not a good pitcher, gives up home runs, gives up power. Alonso has some good BVP versus him as well. He's gone 6 for 14 versus Fiers, a 429 average, so that just adds to it. Just really like Alonso here. I think he is a good value option at first base if you are looking to go cheap. But now moving on to my next play at third base, another value play you can consider for today is Matt Duffy. He's really cheap, 3,200 versus Eric Skoglund. The Rays are another team that I like for today versus Skoglund. He's another pitcher that I don't think is very good. I think the Rays are in a good spot here, and they have a lot of value in their lineup, a lot of righties in their projected lineup as well. Eric Skoglund really struggles to righties, does give up home runs. I think guys like Gomez, Crone, Duffy, I think Wilson Ramos, probably one of my favorite catcher plays on the slate. Even if you want to go like Robertson, Hechavarria, they're not my favorite plays, but definitely the top of this lineup is where I'm really looking, especially with a guy like Matt Duffy who hits lefties well. Definitely has some upside. The guy does have some sneaky power. If he gets on base, he can steal bases as well, and just has the possibility to put up a really big game. I think the Rays are able to put up some runs here, and I think Matt Duffy hitting in the middle of that lineup makes a lot of sense as a cheap option at third base for 3,200. And then my final play, going to the outfield, getting some more exposure to the Indians today. Love the Indians. 4,200, Michael Brantley, definitely one of my favorite outfield plays, especially when you factor in his price tag of just 4,200. I think that is a little bit too cheap for Brantley. The dude's been crushing the ball lately. The price really hasn't caught up to the production. You look at his last 4 games on DraftKings, 9, 25, 19, and 20 fantasy points. He's been hitting the ball so well. Great matchup with Mike Fiers. Like I said earlier, the dude's just not a good pitcher. Indians are probably in the best spot here out of all teams. I just love them as a stack, and I think Brantley, great play, 4,200. Feel like he's a little bit too cheap. But yeah, guys, these are my 5 plays for today. Carlos Carrasco, Tyler Anderson, Yonder Alonso, Matt Duffy, and Michael Brantley. Now if you want to talk about stacks on this slate, some of my favorite teams to stack up, we'll look at some of the teams that have the highest implied run totals on this slate. By far, my favorite stack is the Indians versus Mike Fiers. I think the Indians are in a great spot, and they're a team I'm really loading up on. Then if you need some value, I do like the Rays here versus Skoglund. I think these righties, especially the top 4 with Gomez, Crone, Duffy, and Ramos, a good value team you can look to is the Rays. That's really it for teams I'm loading up on. Not very interested in any of these other teams. It's mainly the Indians and Rays for me on this slate. But now if we want to talk about some BVP plays, look at some of the BVP plays with a sample. At least with a 10 at-bat sample, we have, looks like about 8 BVP plays with at least a 10 at-bat sample. Mookie Betts, 4 for 11 with 2 home runs versus Sean Manaea. Hanley Ramirez is 3 for 10 with 2 home runs versus Manaea. Obviously, I mentioned Alonso's BVP earlier, 6 for 14 versus Mike Fiers. Jose Iglesias, 9 for 28 versus Carlos Carrasco. Cruz and Seager have both hit Odorizzi well. Cruz is 7 for 20 with a home run, and Seager is 4 for 14 with a home run. And then Jonathan Villar and Christian Yelich have both hit Corbin well. Villar is 5 for 10. Christian Yelich, 3 for 12 with a home run versus Patrick Corbin. Then if we want to look at pitchers that have done well in their matchups, there's 3 pitchers on the main slate that have done well in the past versus the teams they're facing. Sean Manaea has done well against the Red Sox. The Red Sox have only hit Manaea for a 225 average, only have 16 hits and 71 at-bats. Carlos Carrasco, really to no surprise, has done well against the Tigers in the past. The Tigers have only hit him for a 220 average and 159 at-bats. And then finally, Lance McCullers, done really well against the Angels in the past. The Angels have hit McCullers for a 202 average, and 20 hits and 99 at-bats. So those are 3 pitchers that have done well in their matchups that I have for today. Then there are no pitchers that have done poorly, at least with a decent sample. I believe with at least a 60 at-bat sample, no pitchers have done very poorly versus the teams they're facing for today. So I think that's really it for BVP and PVB on this slate. And I think that's really it for this video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. Hopefully it helped you. Just quickly going over this slate again, where I'm really looking to go to. If I'm paying up at pitcher today, I like Corbin and Carrasco. Kind of talked about that earlier. And then my cheap SB2s, definitely Tyler Anderson. I like Chris Stratton. if you're looking for a dirt cheap SP2, might have some risk, but he could get you enough value at that price tag. 15 to 20 DraftKings points is definitely possible for Stratton. So you could go to him 5,700. Maybe like Joey Lucchesi if you want to go to him at 8,100. But I think I do feel better about Tyler Anderson, who is a little bit cheaper. Then hitters on the slate, I'm going to the Indians, definitely loading up on that team. And then looking to the Rays, some of their righties for value, like Duffy, Crone, Ramos, Carlos Gomez, some guys I think you can go to for value plays today. But yeah, that's really it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like I said, hopefully it helped you. If you did enjoy, just make sure you click that like button down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do subscribe. And if you have any questions, always feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or you can just leave a comment down below. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And good luck tonight on this slate, guys. Peace.